Hey everybody, this is Komodo Man from the Unreal forums, and I wanted to show you guys how to implement my fish schooling AI and assets package into your own game. But before I get into that, I wanted to show you guys the progress I've made in the fish schooling itself. So if I click play here, so I got them to where they will now school, obviously, and they'll try to avoid the surface of the water and the seafloor. As you can see there, that was freaking out a little bit, but that's just him trying to avoid it. I'll smooth that out later. So right now I have it to where if they go above the water, I just automatically teleport them down a little bit. Because we don't want them going outside the bounds no matter what. I also made it to where they now spawn infinitely, depending on the bounds. So the bounds are currently following the player, and if I swim out here, more fish will start spawning in the distance. As you can see there. Awesome. So now I'm going to show you guys how to put it in your own scene. So we're going to want to start by opening Epic's Unreal Launcher and pressing Launch. Once this window comes up, we're going to want to go to New Project, C++, First Person, and we'll call this one Fish Scene. Once you have Visual Studio up, all you need to do is click Local Windows Debugger. Once your editor is open, we're going to want to go to File, Add Code to Project. The first piece of code we're going to add extends the None parent class. And this one will be called Fish State. When this prompt comes up, you're going to want to say no. Then, again, we're going to add another piece of code to the project that extends pawn as its parent class. This one is named Flockfish. Again, say no to this prompt. And the last piece of code we're going to add to this project will extend actor as its parent class, and it's going to be called Fish Manager. So this time at this prompt, you're going to want to say yes, and you're going to want to say reload all and stop debugging. So what that's done is create 3 new files under private and public over here. So now that we have these pieces of code in our Visual Studio, we're going to want to bring in the code from the fish package. So how I'm going to do that is just by opening up the files I've provided in this video description below and on the forums, and I'm going to open it up in Sublime Text, just the entire folder, which has all of the same classes you just created for your fish scene. So what we're going to want to do is we can start with Fish Manager. Just press Control A, which will select everything in the file on any text editor. Then Control C, and we'll go to fishmanager.cpp in here. Control A again, and then press Control V. And that will put all of the code in this project. There are a few things you need to change once you do this. A major one is, you'll notice here, the last project this was used in was called Ocean Demo. So we're going to need to change this to Fish Scene for the .cpp files, and then press Control S to save it. Okay, we're going to do that for the .h file now. Go back into Sublime Text or your favorite text editor. Go to fishmanager.h, Control A, Control C, Visual Studio, fishmanager.h, Control A, Control V. So this one, you have to change this here. Instead of including it like the CPP does, at the top, this one has it right here, the Ocean Demo API. You're just going to want to change that to whatever your scene's called. We're going to call it fish scene. It's all caps. And then we're going to Control S to save. We'll now go on to fish state. Do the same thing. Make sure you change this to fish scene. Do it for the .h. Change this to fish scene. And then lastly, let's do flockfish. Control A, Control C. Control A, Control V. And change Ocean Demo to fish scene, or whatever your project's called. And lastly, we'll do flockfish.h. And change this to fish scene. And Control S to save. Great. Now that we have all of those in here, we're going to cross our fingers and press local Windows debug. Oh, it looks like I forgot to change this. Okay, so for fish states, there are multiple classes within it, so you actually need to put fish scene for all of these. So it's an easy change. And then we're going to try this again. Nope. Okay, so I just realized that in flockfish.cpp we still had ocean demo, so change that to fish scene. And let's cross our fingers and try again. So it looks like the draw debug lines, which I use for a cool debug mode I'll show you guys later, actually doesn't work when I was creating this tutorial, so we're just going to do this right here and save. So what you're going to want to do is go to the, if you run into this issue as well, you're going to want to go to debug under flockfish.cpp and just remove all the code under here. Okay, let's cross our fingers and try this again. Awesome. Now that we've added code to the project and the solution has been built, let's actually add a fish to the project. So the first thing we're going to want to do under meshes is import. So if you downloaded any of the meshes that we provide on the forums, then you can just use one of those. So I got the bluefin tuna for us here with the texture and the FBX. Import both of them. You're going to want to import to skeletal. Some of them have animations, some of them don't. So this one does not have animations. You just import it the way it is. Say import all. And just say yes all here, it doesn't really matter. Okay, it doesn't matter. So, great. So you can see the bluefin tuna has imported right there. Just save this folder real quick. So now that we have the mesh in game, the skeletal mesh, let's actually create the blueprint that will be doing the schooling. So you want to right click under blueprints and say create new blueprint. You're going to want to pick flockfish as your parent class. How you do this is you go to all classes, you can just type flockfish here, and we'll come up and say select. We're going to name this one BP underscore bluefin tuna. Great. Okay. So here we're going to want to add a component, skeletal mesh. We'll call this bluefin tuna, right? And we're going to want to make sure that the skeletal mesh is a bluefin tuna. Perfect. Now, a lot of the assets we provide are actually rotated along the Y, but it's an easy fix. So all you have to do is go up here, and on the Z, type -90. And it'll face the right direction. Pile, save. So this sphere here is actually what the fish uses to determine where the neighbors are and where enemies are. So once an enemy enters the sphere, it'll start fleeing from it. Once a neighbor enters the sphere, it'll start considering it as a neighbor and start schooling with it. So usually I found you want to have it to where it's quite a bit bigger than the fish itself. Let's go with 4 here. Okay, that did not scale how I wanted. There we go. I think that's going to be a little big. Let's actually go with like 2.5. Yeah. Great. And we'll save. Okay, so on the defaults, you're going to want to set isLeader to true. You're going to want to make sure the neighbor type is the bluefin tuna itself, the blueprint, so BP bluefin tuna. And these are settings you can give to the fish that determine its speed. So speed determines its speed, max speed determines the max speed it can get up to while it's fleeing. So since this is going to be a smaller one for this scene, let's just give it a speed of 600 and a max speed of 1200. Turn speed of 1, that just determines how fast the fish will turn. Turn frequency determines how often the fish will turn. The higher it is, the less it will turn. So right now it'll turn every 1 second, but let's make it 3. So now it'll turn every 3 seconds. Hunger reset timer you don't have to worry about unless this fish has prey, which I'll show you guys later. So just behind speed up range is just how far is it away before it decides to speed up to catch up with the leader and the flock. And these are some advanced settings. I'll let you guys go over them yourself if you'd like to. Here are some environment variables to set. So the underwater min is the minimum of where you want the fish to be swimming around. And the underwater max is obviously the max. So you're gonna want to have the ocean surface or whatever is your surface, say a fish tank, your Z value set there, and if the sea floor should be set here. Okay, and you can actually create custom Z-seeks. I call them custom Z-seeks. They'll be basically the elevation that this fish stays in most of the time. And down here we have some optimization variables you can set. Right now, most all the fish only consider up to 5 neighbors, even if there's more around them. And currently they update every tick, but you can set how many ticks you want them to update. And for this fish, you're going to want to have the debug mode set off, especially since we were not able to include it with this build. So we'll compile it, save, and close it down. So the easiest method of implementation is just dragging one out. Well, the easiest for just say you want to have one school. Right. So I'm going to make it just a tad bit bigger so that we can see it swimming around. Okay, so for the min bound, if you go to, say, top wireframe, let's go to it. We want to set the min for the fish's boundaries. So how we can do that is we can just drag this fish and then to the opposite direction of the arrows will give you the min. We can go front, and then that can be the lower Z. And we can just copy this transform wherever we want the min to be and go down to environment variables and paste as the min. And we'll do the exact same thing for max. Okay. Except we're going to follow the arrows. And we're going to copy the location once again, and this will be the max. So, now that we have that, we can go to this fishy, make sure isLeader is set, and just Control-C, Control-V. Can make sure isLeader is turned off on the second one. And we can just Control-C, Control-V, Control-C, V. Just make however many you want. Okay. Now we'll play. So you can see them swimming around within, well, sort of within the bounds. Okay, right now they don't have any obstacle avoidance on. I'll show you guys how to set that. But they're swimming around pretty nicely, I'd say. Okay guys, so I'm going to have to stop with the tutorial here. Sorry I wasn't able to get through all of it tonight, but I will be uploading another one soon that will cover adding obstacle avoidance, adding enemies, and adding prey to each of your fish. Now I'm just going to swim around for a little while so you guys can get a feel of what it might look like in a final implementation, or at least one that's further along than the scene I showed you. So as you can see, some of the fish flee from, see that shark just ate that bluefin tuna. He's probably going to go for that one too. Guess he's not hungry. But you'll also notice that when they go to the surface, they'll try to avoid it. And if they do go happen to get above the surface, they'll just be teleported back down. And no matter how far I swim, there'll always be new fish generating. That's with my fish manager being attached to me. So whenever they reach the bounds box, they spawn on the other side, which gives it a pretty cool effect. It's them just sort of coming into view as you swim along. Okay, and I also want to show you guys what debug mode is. So I have a handy button on my fish manager that shows me debug mode. So this will show you the actual interaction spheres and the ray tracing that they do to determine the bounds and to determine their enemies and allies. So when I swim close to a fish, you'll notice the bounds turn red, and that means they're fleeing from me. And chasing something, they'll turn green. So let's see if I can show you. Oh, there we go. So that shark is chasing around those mackerel. Okay. So I'll leave you guys with that. I promise I'll get back to you with another video tutorial soon, and I hope you guys enjoy. Thanks. Bye.